Hello, I'm back on a new episode where I'm going to talk briefly about running nutrition and just what we should be doing when we're on a race and we're also doing training runs, what we should really focus on, as it's a question that I receive quite a lot from running clients and from people just in general questions on social media. So yeah, just to start that off, if you do want to send me any questions on social media, you can look up my Instagram on Broadrun, or you can send a message under the video. But I just wanted to touch briefly on this, as I think it's something that a lot of people get wrong. So basically I'm going to start off from the top. I would say the number one piece of investment for your marathon, as well as a pair of comfortable shoes, is a good marathon belt. Now, I have this one from Naked, which is the one that I've been using. I use it for all my training runs, and it's the perfect sort of thing to take for all your marathon training needs. Not only can you use it on the marathon itself, you've got little things here to put your race number on, but you can also use it for all your training runs. I know a lot of people like to go out on long training runs. You might be going up to sort of say 35 kilometers on your training run, depending on what your coach sets as your scheduled longest run. That normally might mean, say, anything up to about 3 hours running. So there's no way that you're going to be able to do that without taking on appropriate fueling and water. So this is why that I really sort of enjoy taking this Naked belt. It's not a sponsorship thing or anything. This is just genuinely what I use. I did previously use a Solomon vest, but I've started using this for every single run. You're able to take 2 soft flasks in it, and then anything up to about 10 gels plus your phone, if that's what you want to take. And yeah, just a little piece of investment advice. You buy it. It was around, I think around £40. And yeah, definitely one of the best bits of kit I bought. Use it for all my marathons, all half marathons, and also for all triathlons as well, as a bit of a transition belt, and yeah, really easy to use, so definitely recommend it. So when it comes to taking on fueling for the marathon, just as mainly talking about during the marathon, I normally recommend to take anything up to a maximum of 90 grams carbs per hour. Now that's a maximum. That is what the elite athletes will be taking during the marathon, and probably around the top point that I recommend taking in. I think for typical people, I recommend around 60 grams of carbs an hour, which I would normally suggest to take 2 30-gram gels every 30 minutes. Now that is starting from the very first 30 minutes of the marathon. So I think a mistake I see a lot of people make is they assume that, yes, the body probably has enough glycogen for, say, around an hour of intense physical activity like the marathon. So what they think is, right, I'll take my first gel at an hour. I think that's a mistake. I think you should be taking, and the sort of the science supports it, that you should be taking gels on, and you want to sort of top up the glycogen stores as you're going before you run out. Obviously, it takes a bit of time for your body to process them. And it's just something that I would definitely suggest to start taking on early. Now, that's probably a lot for most of you, 60 grams, and you'll probably struggle with that, even at that sort of that end of things. You know, if you try and go and take 90 grams from the get-go, you'll probably just physically not be able to do it. You'll have gastro problems. You'll, face issues. You'll end up being sick, and then that'll ultimately ruin your race. And nutrition is one of the most important parts of the race itself, to make sure you're fueled and ready to carry out, your best effort for the marathon itself. So what I'm going to say is the stomach is a muscle and something that has to be trained. I think this is something that people often overlook. They try to go through all their training fasted or not practicing the fueling strategy that you should do for the marathon. Come to marathon day, get 3 gels in, and they're feel deadly sick. My big thing as a coach is to make sure that you do all your runs fueled. Now, what I mean by that is to make sure that before every run, you've approximately had 30 to 60 grams of carbs before your run. This may be a bit higher on marathon day. You want to make sure, give yourself the best chance. So maybe somewhere in the region, between 60, 120 grams of carbs. Obviously, there's more specific advice for people who have got different body weights, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you send me them directly. I'm just speaking in general here. But before every run, I always make sure that my clients and myself have carbs before we go out. Probably about an hour before I head out, I'll have something that will be a slow-acting carb, something like an oats with maybe something additional that will be a bit more fast-acting, like honey, or even if I'm feeling a bit naughty, I might have a bit of sugar, but something, that will be able to stomach, give me long-lasting energy throughout the race or throughout the run. And then perhaps just before I head off, I'll have something a bit, fast-acting carbs, something, a bit of honey, or maybe a little bit of a gel, just to get your stomach used to it. And then, obviously, as I mentioned before, immediately go into the fueling part of your running. Make sure that you're fueling from the get-go throughout your training runs. Anything over 45 minutes generally needs to have intra-fueling. So if you're running for up to 45 minutes, you don't necessarily have to take something on at 30 minutes for that last 15 minutes, because you're going to finish and you're going to come home and you're going to eat something, hopefully high protein, and it'll have something to, some carbs in it too, to sort of replenish the body's glycogen stores ready for the next day's session. But if you're running anything up to an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, I would say, that's when you want to start looking, at least taking something on. It might seem silly, you don't want to have too many carbs. You don't always have to have gels. You can always have like natural whole food things, like bananas are really easy to digest when they're running. There's a lot of reasons that people have them. They have additional electrolytes in them, potassium, for example. Or something like honey might be beneficial for you, or you can also maybe get some chewy, sweet type things, Haribos, or the sort of things that come like Cliff Bars and other nutrition products, Goo, Chews. These things are basically just really well marketed blocks of sugar. Effectively, that's what you're doing. But you're able to take these things on as you're running. One of the issues people face when they take a lot of gels in is sometimes they sort of get a bit of runner's tummy, which can not be very nice. Sometimes when you're running, you can get a very upset stomach. So sometimes people like to mess with things that are a bit more solid. I recommend, instead of going out to buy really expensive Cliff Blocks or going to buy Goo Chews, just buy a simple pack of Haribos. It will basically do the same thing. And take that on. Obviously, you can have your fruit things on as well. So yeah, that's basically just covered the basics of that. But hopefully you've taken something from it. Obviously, if you've got further questions, I do help out my clients with more specific advice that's specific to them. This is just general advice and something that I think everybody should be practicing. So always fuel your runs and always fuel after as well. So yeah, thanks very much for listening to this short video, and hopefully see you next time.